ESPN sources, J.J. Redick has signed on a 4-year contract to become the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Rob Pelinka offered the job this morning, and Redick started working on a staff to surround himself with experience. So that breaking news, of course, we know the relationship that J.J. has with LeBron. Of course, LeBron James, not at all a part of the head coaching process, hiring process necessarily. But Perk, what is your reaction to the fact that J.J. is now officially the Los Angeles Lakers' next head coach?
You know what? I'm not mad at it. Anytime a former player, right, could get an opportunity to be in that position and be a head coach, I'm all in for it, right? We know that J.J. Redick is a brilliant basketball mind. We know he knows the game in and out, the X's and O's. Again, I'm gonna go back to what I said before. The only thing when it comes down to J.J. Redick is he gonna be able to speak the language in that locker room, right? We look at the NBA Finals, and who did we see coaching in the NBA Finals? We saw Jason Kidd, and we saw 35-year-old Joe Mazzulla. And the one thing that I've been hearing and seeing is how Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and all these guys on the Celtics talk about how they relate to Joe Mazzulla and how he's affected their lives outside of basketball. It's more the X's and O's when it comes down to being a head coach. Can J.J. Redick elevate his game, put a little bit of his ego aside, and go in that locker room and speak today's language? This is a different day and age, UD. This is not when you and I were coming up and we are under the Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley system. Only a few coaches are allowed to be that best version of themselves. So I applaud it. You know, JJ, kudos to him. And let's see where it goes.
So J.J. Redick has been sought after on multiple staffs and as a head coach in a lot of situations over the last couple of years. He's turned them down. Like 2 years ago, the Boston Celtics said, "Can you come be on Joe Mazzulla's staff?" And he said, "No, I'm not ready for that. I want to take some time away from my playing career." He has some young kids he wants to be around. This is not just the Lakers who've been interested in J.J. Redick. There's been a number of teams. I know teams had him on their board as replacements for iconic coaches in this league. He is somebody that has been scouted and thought of as a future great head coach in this league for a long time. And the Lakers, I know it may have seemed like it took a long time to land on J.J. Redick, and they did have this conversation and offer to Dan Hurley, but J.J. Redick is a very sought-after head coach in this league, and the Lakers are taking a chance on somebody. He's unproven, but they're not the only ones who were considering taking a chance on him, and the fact that they did this now, I just come back to these two words that we always talk about with LeBron James: basketball IQ. We've talked about it since he was in Cleveland. That is what he wants in a coach on his team and the players on his team. JJ has that in spades, as we've all heard in
I think that's three words. Basketball, intelligent quotient.
Okay, well, IQ together is just a word. Right, okay. We can shorten it, right? It's like LA. Is it LA or Los Angeles? Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, copy editor.
Dave, your thoughts on JJ being the new head coach?
Listen, as Ramona was saying, ever since he interviewed with the Toronto Raptors for a spot on their staff, he got the bug, and he thought this will be his destiny in this game. He's accomplished so many other things when it comes to basketball, but he really felt like he had something to give to today's game and used all the basketball acumen he's picked up over the years from Coach K at Duke, playing for a championship head coach, a guy with championship pedigree with Doc Rivers, a long portion of his career with the LA Clippers. And you know, he's a guy who's succeeded pretty much everything that's come his way in this sport. He was ahead of the game when it came to podcasting. It wasn't just him doing Mind the Game with LeBron James.
Yeah,
while he was a player, he was doing a podcast with Bill Simmons and The Ringer. And you know, I just think it's a worthy gamble. There's risk involved. He's never coached a game other than for his children. But it's a worthy gamble, and he's going to step in with the confidence and I think the self-assurance it takes to stand in the storm that happens almost every year with the Lakers and with LeBron James teams.
Yeah, I'm with Perk on that one, man. At this stage of the game, it's a players' league. They got to like you in the league these days. It's not when we play, when they just give you a task and you run through a brick wall and you don't ask any questions. It's a players' league, and if they don't like you, they'll get you out of there. So the first thing JJ's got to do is go in there and establish relationships with these guys. I know he has one with LeBron James, but he's got to establish relationships with all these guys in the locker room. He's got to make sure that it's only one voice and that he earns their respect. I remember playing for Eric Spoelstra. I know the Spo that we see now today, but the Spo that started was in the film room. The Spo that started was rebounding. The Spo that started was working us out. He came in there, and me and Dwayne remember that Eric Spoelstra, but he earned our respect. He earned the name Spoelstra Nostra. He worked for that. So JJ's going to have to work and earn those guys' respect.
Perk, I want to ask you this because UD's talking about earning the players' respect. I heard him this morning on First Take talking about how obviously they know who he was as a player. They understand his basketball mind, but he hasn't been a head coach yet. How does he go into that locker room and earn that respect from those players?
Well, I think he got to find that fine line of separating the two, right? Of being the head coach, but also being somewhat of a friend, right? You talk about being a players' league. I think the way that he starts is that he got to get the attention of the most important person in that locker room, and it's not LeBron James, it's Anthony Davis. If I'm JJ Redick, that's the first person I'm getting on the phone with and figuring things out. Now we already know he's probably already had conversations with Braun, but again, this had to be an Anthony Davis hire. How are you going to put Anthony Davis in the best position to be successful? If JJ Redick is able to get on the same page and get Anthony Davis' attention and respect, like UD was talking about, the respect factor, everyone else is going to follow. Everyone else is going to follow. And I think UD said something that was key, and I'm going to leave it at here. One voice. One voice. It's not a million voices. It's his voice and his way, not a LeBron way.